Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, our morning get together live here on Facebook, where we take a look at headlines from our city, our state, our country. We take a look at your comments, ideas, suggestions. I'm looking all over the place because I want to make sure that I have successfully deployed a poll on your screen. And let's see. You should have a poll on your screen. I hope that you do. This has to do with a local restaurant, which we're going to talk about today. Oh, yes, it is active. Good. We'll come back to see your answers as to whether you've had dinner at Barrio Bistro, because we're going to take a look at a slice of local history later on that has to do with Barrio Bistro. And how is Barrio Bistro connected to the Night of the Iguana or to one of the most beautiful sculptures on the Malecón? Well, you may or may not know the story. That's part of what we're going to cover today. But first, let me welcome everyone to Coffee and Headlines. Today is February the 2nd. It's the second day of the month. It's Dia de la Candelaria Day. Way back then, today was the day in which Mary took baby Jesus to church for inspection. I suppose that's what religious history tells us, that Candelaria Day is a day in which you take your baby after 40 days of being born to church for approval. And what does that have to do with us? Well, it's a day in which we eat tamales, and I know that I'm going to have great tamales tonight, courtesy of a friend of mine who's a chef. I hope you find yourself some good tamales today. And aside from that, we also have some interesting news that I want to share. Great news for the folks in Bucerias, with a new municipal market coming, the first ever for the municipality of Bahía de Banderas. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. As always, we welcome everyone, but particularly those of you that are watching live for the first time. If that is your case, feel free to write the word new in your comments and suggestions, and we'll give you a nice little welcome. If there's something really important on your mind that you wish to share with the rest of us, please add a capital letter Q, and we'll take a look at your comment during the comment section. Let's push the button. We start with the International Charro Tournament. It has begun, and it gives visitors and locals the opportunity to enjoy Mexico's traditional sport up close and personal at Hacienda Serena, not far from Puerto Vallarta. Well, Hacienda Serena is located within Puerto Vallarta, but not near El Centro and the tourist areas. This is the 11th edition of the tournament, and it features 36 charro teams and 26 escaramuza teams. And escaramuza teams are teams that involve lady charros from Mexico and the United States. They all come to Puerto Vallarta to perform skills on their horses and so forth and so on. We shared the schedule for this fun tournament before, and we will look for it again, and we will share it again in case you consider attending. The tournament will continue through the rest of this week and through the weekend. Now, even though Puerto Vallarta's police department is once again in the hands of civilians and not the National Defense Secretary, our city continues to operate a combined security tragedy. Whoa, that's a Freudian slip. Puerto Vallarta is running a security tragedy, not tragedy, Paco, strategy, featuring both the local citizen security commissary and the National Guard. Lord have mercy. The intention here is to improve security in Puerto Vallarta streets in coordination with with local, state, and federal levels. Tragedy. Don't pay attention to the guy with a coffee cup in his hand this morning. Moving right along. Oh my God, this is excellent news for folks living in Bucerias or nearby. After 2 years in construction, the small town north of Puerto Vallarta has its own municipal market and the first municipal market for the entire municipality of Bahía de Banderas. Nayarit Governor Miguel Ángel Navarro Quintero, along with Bahía de Banderas Mayor Mirta Villalbazo, were present at the inauguration ceremony, along with close to 30 market shop owners or owners that will have a spot at the market. It will take a few weeks for all locale owners to move in and set up shop, said the governor, but it is expected that the new municipal market will be up and running by the end of February. Now, the location doesn't show up on Google Maps just yet. So if anybody knows exactly where this is located, our friends from Bucerias, if you can let us know if you've seen it, let us know so we can figure out where to go, as there are other interesting events coming up in Bucerias that we'll mention later on in the broadcast that may just drive us up north to go exploring for a day and see what we can find there. But first, let's take a look at the weather. It's only partly sunny. The sun is a total failure. Whatever. It is 24 degrees. Feels like 25. Humidity is at 60%. What the hell? And our temperature degrees I cannot speak today. Our temperature in Fahrenheit is 75 degrees. Oh my goodness, I need more coffee. It's all the raicilla that I drank last night. Our forecast, clear through the day with a high of 27 and a low of 18. Tomorrow, Friday, another clear day with a high of 30 and a low of 20. And Saturday will be a clear day with a high of 30 and a low of 19, and a perfect day to go upriver, if you ask me. Now, before we continue, it is time to rehearse your animal sounds in Spanish. Like in English, a dog goes woof woof and a cat meows. But what are these sounds in Spanish, you may ask? Let's find out. Well, let's find out if I put it on. Hold on just a second. That was not well executed. Hold on. Let's try that again. Oh, pues. Anyhow, yes, do forgive me if I toot my own horn. Do forgive me if I attempt to promote my very own music appreciation lecture. But, who else is going to do the work for me? As you know, I'm lobbying for people to attend my upcoming Mexican music lecture. Great Mexican songs, their history, the history of their performers, their history of their composers. It's going to take place on February the 23rd at the Vallarta Co-working Hotel. But you already knew that. I don't want to overwhelm you with too much self promotion. Oh, that's not true. I do. Anyhow, let's take a quick look. Oh, interesting. Apparently, 32% have had dinner at Barrio Bistro. 58% said not yet. 11% or two people said it's not for you. Fair enough. But if it's not for you, you're just going to have to sit through this little account of my dinner from last night. I had a wonderful, wonderful dinner at Barrio Bistro, which is, in my opinion, the grand dam of all restaurants located in Colonia Versalles here in this alfresco comfortable enjoyment. Um, Chef Memo Wolf has delighted people with his cuisine for, I think it's over 10 years now. But you have to know a little bit about the story behind Barrio Bistro and the story of Memo Wolf to appreciate how this amazing restaurant is deeply, deeply tied with local history. So I'm going to connect some dots for you, and I'm going to do it in the most disorganized but unprepared way. But I want us to go back in time to the 1950s and take a look at this photograph. Now, you may or may know who these people are, but I'm going to give you a hand. The gentleman on the photograph is Guillermo Wolf. The lady on the photograph is Nellie Wolf. Let me tell you a little bit about Nellie first. Nellie was and is this beautiful woman. Well, she was gorgeous when she was young. She came to Puerto, and this is them standing outside of Nellie's store. Nellie's was located on the Malecon a million years ago. Look at the car. Anyhow, Nellie was raised in Mexico City, and she was always interested in creative things. She studied fashion design and for a while had her own line of clothing that was exported even all the way to New York and other great destinations around the world. And she would eventually come to Puerto Vallarta, open her shop here. She would eventually meet civil engineer and construction designer Guillermo Wolf. And he, of course, built many houses in Gringo Gulch, including the house owned by Burton and the house owned by Elizabeth Taylor. And of course, he was largely responsible for the development of Marina Vallarta. If you walk around Gringo Gulch today, you will find a number of homes that still have a plaque, one of those ceramic chingaderas that says this house was designed by Guillermo Wolf. Guillermo Wolf was a very influential constructor and designer here in Puerto Vallarta. It is considered that the cupola shape that is so common in some of the older homes was his creation, or he brought it here to Puerto Vallarta as a source of identity. Now, let me show you another photograph. You probably recognize the lady on the left, and you may or may not recognize the gentleman on the right. So the gentleman on the right is who we're going to focus on because Streisand has nothing to do with this photograph. But the guy was Ray Stark. He was one of the most successful and prolific independent film producers in post-war Hollywood. He produced great films like West Side Story, Funny Girl, Steel Magnolias, and of course, he also produced The Night of the Iguana. Well, as it turns out, Ray Stark had a friendship with Guillermo Wolf. And while Ray Stark was busy in Hollywood promoting or pitching the idea of producing Night of the Iguana in Puerto Vallarta, where it would be less expensive, Guillermo Wolf had made the promise that he would be responsible for building the sets for the movie, and that's how the Night of the Iguana came to be. The Night of the Iguana came to Puerto Vallarta because of the friendship between Guillermo Wolf and Ray Stark. So, of course, during their marriage, this gave Nellie the opportunity to meet Burton and Taylor and all the people and that were involved in the film. So she is a lady, and I say is because she's still alive. I think she's 97 years of age. She leads a quiet life in Marina Vallarta, where she has a condominium. But she represents this whole era of grandness here in Puerto Vallarta. Nelly went on to have three kids. One of them, her son Guillermo, opened El Dorado on the beach, the El Dorado restaurant, many, many, many years ago. And Guillermo had a son who was also named Guillermo, who is the Guillermo that is the owner of Barrio Bistro. But I don't want to get ahead of myself. I want to show you yet another photograph, and I'm going to focus our story back on Nelly. As I told you, Nelly grew up in Mexico City, in not far from San Angel, as I understand it. And I want to introduce you to another photograph. Now, here we have the acclaimed sculptor Ramis Barquet. He is very famous here in Puerto Vallarta. He is he's originally from Lebanon, and he's responsible for many, many sculptures around the city, including Nostalgia, which is here on the back of him. And nostalgia, if you look it up on the dictionary, means a sentimental longing or wistful affection for the past, typically for a period of place with happy personal associations. So let me start connecting a few dots here. When Nelly was a teenager growing up in Mexico City, she was at the flower market in San Angel, and at the flower market in San Angel, by chance, she met young Ramis Barquet, the sculptor that I just showed you. And they had this instant connection. She liked him, he liked her. He asked her out. She wanted to go out with him, but her family wouldn't let her do this because they just wouldn't. They figured, no, he's not the right man for you. You cannot see Ramis Barquet. You cannot go out with him. So Nelly would come to Puerto Vallarta, marry Guillermo Wolf. That marriage ended at some point, and Nelly, by chance, reconnected with Ramis Barquet here in Puerto Vallarta. And when they met again, it was as though time had not passed. So now Nelly, now a lady of a certain age, went on and married Ramis, her love of her teenage years. And they had a beautiful, beautiful marriage until Ramis passed away. And the reason why I was talking about nostalgia earlier is because this sculpture was created by Ramis to represent him and Nelly sitting next to each other, being nostalgic, thinking about all the years that went by that they were not connected with one another. So when you go and have dinner with Memo Wolf, who eventually opened his own restaurant, you are not only having dinner with him, but you are really having dinner with a slice of Puerto Vallarta history. Now, let's look at Barrio Bistro for a moment. Barrio Bistro must have opened about 10 years, maybe more. I've lost track, but it was a summer. It was a summer here in Puerto Vallarta, one of those hot and humid summers. And here we're looking at pretty much the way Barrio Bistro looks like today. But the wall on the left is, or the house, the property that is to the left of the restaurant, was the original Barrio Bistro location. And left to that is the house where Memo Wolf, the chef, used to live, or maybe he still lives there. I don't know. But all I can tell you is that some 10 years ago, or maybe longer, Memo said to himself, I'm going to rent the house next to mine and I'm going to put a restaurant there and I'm going to call it Barrio Bistro. And at the time, there was absolutely nothing in in Versalles like there is today. There was absolutely no restaurant scene, and in fact, those of us that are locals used to think when we first heard the news, it's like, what on earth is Memo Wolf thinking, opening a restaurant in Colonia Versalles in the middle of the summer when it's hot and humid and nobody is going to go? So we went, and going to have dinner at the original Barrio Bistro, it was the most intimate personal experience. There were only maybe 6 or 8 tables, and the experience was the equivalent of being invited to the home of the chef and having dinner with him. It was absolutely personal, and 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 we thought, we might as well come and have dinner here a lot, because come the fall, when the English speaking folk come back into the city, this restaurant, Barrio Bistro, is going to be the place. And it became the place to have dinner and continues to be the place to have dinner. And it is thanks to Memo and his foresight that Colonia Versalles became the restaurant destination that it is today. And it is thanks to Barrio Bistro, which I call the grand dame of restaurants in Colonia Versalles, that the whole thing just exploded for Colonia Versalles. So again, I was there having dinner last night. Memo, I've known for many, many years. He is one of the most charming, charismatic gentlemen you could meet in this city. He has now a property in El Tuito, and he's administering another property for his aunt, Lupe, in San Sebastián del Oeste, where he's hoping to start doing Airbnb / have dinner with a chef experiences, which should be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, if you haven't had the chance to spend time at Barrio Bistro, I am sure you are going to love this restaurant. The end. Now, before we go on, and speaking of Versalles and speaking of Bucerias, I just want to give you a little bit of a reminder of a couple of things. Tonight is this evening in the garden at El Jardín de la Versalles, benefiting the Sula Society, where we can find out more about this animal shelter project in case you're out and about. And as long as we were talking about Bucerias, I want to remind you that there is this Chili for a Cause event coming up at Jack's Bar and Grill on the 20th. And on the 21st, the Bucerias Street Festival and Chalk Art Walk is taking place all day long. Oh, it's actually a weekend festival from February 21st to February 23rd. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that by then the new municipal market will be up and running, and maybe we can go and find it and take some photographs and whatnot. So this brings us to our chit chat section. Let's see what everybody is thinking about and see what we have. Good mornings, good mornings, good mornings, and we love those. Thank you very much for being here. And Paula's counting 10 days and we'll be there. This is wonderful. Albert and I were chatting yesterday because Albert was looking for binoculars and I pointed him in the right direction. And then he's like, so what am I going to eat? And I said to him, go check out the food park. And I'm glad that you did, my dear friend. Oh no, jury duty. Charles has jury duty. Well, you can find us on YouTube, as you know. Good morning, future neighbor. I am so glad that you guys connected with a good place to rent in Versalles, not far from my home. And of course, Brian, you crochet, I crochet. We gotta do some hooking. Oh dear. Let's see what else we have. Good morning. Dismissed the poll thinking it was an ad. Well, maybe we have to do polls more frequently because, we've been known to do this from time to time. Ba-dum-bum-bing. More good mornings, more good mornings. Looking for cues. Oh my God, this was so funny. I met Ray. Hello, Ray. It's great to see you. I met Ray. I was at La Comer. I was pushing my cart, and Ray says hello, and he asked me what the show was about, and then we spotted his wife, and his wife took a seat on top of a huge crate of beer, and I laughed so hard because I said to her, that's one of my favorite seats in the whole supermarket, and we just were gigglish, and when I was walking home, I totally regretted not taking a selfie photo with your wife. I would have sat next to her and crossed my legs and looked dainty in a heartbeat. But yes, it was great to meet you yesterday at La Comer, and it's great to run into people that watch Coffee and Headlines all the time. Tutti tutti tutti. Let's see what else we have. The municipal market in San Jose del Valle was opened first more than a year ago. Currently, not too many vendors in the Bucerias Mercado. Okay, thanks for the update. I enjoyed your Name That Tune Facebook game last night. I'm glad to hear that. Paco, when will you start giving us some homework before the music class? Good question. Albert had requested that I share some of the music that we're going to be covering. I need to come up with the full list of songs first, and then I will let you know what the songs are if you want to listen to them ahead of time. Then I see a lot of comments about Barrio Bistro. Purim pum pim pum pum. Again, it is essential to have dinner at Barrio Bistro in my book. Kathy says had dinner there 8 years or so ago. Ordered mussels, got liver. When we asked about it, they said the mussels were out of their shells, but we're there. We never saw or tasted one, but lots of liver. Okay. Let's see what else we have. Spotted Nelly at El Dorado having lunch with a small collection of friends and family just a few months ago. She appears still very much alive and thriving. Well, yeah, she's had such vitality for the longest time. I am sure one of the reasons why we don't see Nelly at social functions anymore is because she's reached a certain age, and when she passes, which we hope she will continue to be a lovely lady for the longest time, but she will be sorely missed. Because of all her work in many charities and just for being such an important part of cultural history here in the city. Let's see. Oh, I'm glad you appreciated the story. It's a remarkable story. Let's see what else. Memo in San Sebas, that should be even more magical. Yes, well, the property that the family has, it's a beautiful home. And I've been to the house before, and I'm sure it's going to be a great adventure. Let's see. Barbara says, I remember the old Barrio house. It was a totally charming place. I don't think I'm going to embarrass anyone by saying this, but, more than once did I see, a small silver tray of joints pass around after dessert at the old Barrio Bistro. I mean, it was really a place for friends and people who enjoyed an intimate dinner experience. It was a great place. It continues to be a great place. Let's see what else we have. Yeah. I think we're done. Yes, we are. Okay, so thank you very much for joining me on another adventure here at Coffee and Headlines. Tomorrow, Friday, will be the end of the week. Still don't know what we have in store, but I hope you'll come back for more headlines, more stories, and more coffee. Have a great day.